Presents the National Football League. Today from Busch Stadium, it's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the St. Louis Cardinals. Brought to you by Mazda Cars and Trucks. The more you look, the more you like Mazda value. By Bud Light, everything else is just a light. And by Harris Corporation and their Lanier Business Product Divisions. Lanier, we're easy to use. And meanwhile, in the Meadowlands, with less than 4 minutes to go in that ball game, the New York Giants are leading the Denver Broncos 16-9. If that holds, that means that the Raiders are now within 1 game of Denver, and that if Kansas City defeats St. Louis, they also are within 1 game of the Denver Broncos in that race in the West. Eric Schubert, the new kicker for the Cardinals. And we are underway as Boy Free returns to the 15 and is decked at the 18-yard line. In reality, he was decked by one of the Chiefs, ran into one of his own players. We'll take a setup of the Kansas City offense, and the quarterback is Bill Kenney. Boyce Green and Mike Pruitt, the running backs. Carlos Carson, sprained foot, not expected to play, so Marshall and Page are the wideouts, and Walt Arnold is at tight end. Eatman, Buddy, Donnelly, Addix, and Baldinger, that offensive line that's just getting better and better and better. First down, Kansas City at their own 18-yard line. And Kenney comes out throwing. Steps away from pressure, just dumps it off, and it is dropped. And that is Mike Pruitt, who was his escape valve. It'll be second down and 10. The ball still at the 18-yard line. Let's set up the defense now for the St. Louis Cardinals with Crosby, Galloway, and Baker, the front three. This will be their basic set. Freddie Joe Nunn. Monaco starting for E.J. Jr. This is the first NFL start for Ron Monaco, rookie free agent. Nico Noga and Charlie Baker. Carter, Mack, Smith, and Young in the secondary. For Carter on the left corner, this is his second NFL start. And this time it is Pruitt rushing the ball. And he moves to the 21. He'll pick up 3. It's going to be third down and about 7 yards to go as Crosby makes the tackle.
And Kansas City begins much as they did last week. Has to be some concern to them. They could not protect Bill Kenney very well the first time he went back to pass. And if you remember the game last week against the Denver Broncos, 2 touchdowns were set up by Bill Kenney being blindsided and fumbling the ball toward his own goal line.
Third down and 7. And a sparse crowd here at Busch Stadium this afternoon. Little jumping, flags down. Free play for Kansas City. Pass is complete to Henry Marshall. He goes out at the 31-yard line. I believe that St. Louis was offside. May have been Al Baker who was jumping. They'll refuse the penalty and take the first down, of course. That will be the call. The referee is Red Cashin.
Offside, number 60 on the defense. That penalty is declined. First down.
Report in on that Denver Giant game with 2 minutes to go. The Giants continue to lead by a score of 16-9. And here the ball game just underway. No score, 13:58 left to go in the first quarter. 2 tight ends on the set for Kansas City. Their first down of the ball game, now at their own 31-yard line. Stephon Page in motion. And Boyce Green is the ball carrier. And Boyce moves for 3 yards to the 34. It'll be second down and 7.
Of interesting note this afternoon for Kansas City is the fact that Carlos Carson, as you mentioned, will not be playing this afternoon because of an injury. That'll take away some of the options for Bill Kenney, because Carson is relied on in their scheme of things to stretch a defense vertically. They like the deep passing game with Carson, and so he'll have less choice as far as play selection is concerned. Stephon Page, a fine receiver, but one who's more possession type, not able to run the deep patterns as well as Carlos Carson.
Carson really the only speed threat as a wide receiver. Second down and 7. it is Boyce Green. Green to the 36-yard line, so he picks up 2. It's going to be 3rd down and 5, and so Kansas City will have to come out throwing once again.
That's been the story for Kansas City for the last couple of seasons. Boyce Green getting the start the past few weeks because of Herman Hurd's trouble hanging on to the football. Hurd was thought to be the running back they were looking for in Kansas City. Led the club the last 2 years in rushing. But fumble problems have put him on the bench, and it's Boyce Green's opportunity to try and pick up their rushing attack.
He fumbled once in the first San Diego game, once in Tampa Bay, when he carried the ball twice instead. So the coaching staff does remember. Inside handoff that is barely made to Larry Moriarty to the 39-yard line. A gain of only 3, so it's going to be 4th down and 2 as David Galloway, the nose tackle, was there to close him down. And that means that Kansas City will be kicking. I'm surprised they ran.
I am too, but St. Louis's defense, if it can be called a strength, is the fact that they play against the pass very well. It's their rushing problems that against the rushes where they've had their problems. So maybe Kansas City is saying to themselves, we're going to go out and we're going to run the football even in some obvious passing situations.
Louis Colbert will be kicking by Sikahima. Outstanding return specialist for the Cardinals. Second and punt returns in the NFC, second and kickoff returns in the NFL. And this is a terrible kick that goes out of bounds at the Cardinal 35-yard line. We'll take a timeout. We have no score, and when we come back, the Cardinals will have the football.
Howdy. Give me a light. Bud Light.
If you just ask for a light beer, you never know what you'll get.
Give me a light. Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name of taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light. Bud Light.
Ask for Bud Light, because everything else is just a light.
Hi. Oh. Buy your friend a beer.
When Mazda asked me if I'd like to take some hot laps in one of their RX-7 race cars, they didn't have to ask twice. Whew, I'm telling you, nothing pours out power as smoothly as a rotary engine. It makes for a great race car and a great sports car. This RX-7 also has one of the most advanced suspension systems in the world. It loves to be driven hard. Check it out. But don't blame me if you start hating what you're driving now.
Want to take it out again, Mr. Garner?
Like I said, you don't have to ask me twice.
We really appreciate you showing Diane your Tandy computer system.
Yes, thank you so much. What's happening over there?
Oh, our service representative is installing an additional workstation.
One important reason we chose Radio Shack was for continuing service. They're expanding our system so it grows as we grow.
I'm ready to talk business.
Tandy Computers at Radio Shack Computer Centers. In business, for business.
With 1 minute and 55 seconds left in the Meadowlands, Sammy Winder scored from 4 yards out, and the Denver Giant game is now tied at 16-16. Here we are tied 0-0, and Louis Colbert's punt 27 yards with no return. Offensively, for the St. Louis Cardinals, Neil Lomax returns to quarterback. He's been out for a couple of ball games. Stump Mitchell, Earl Farrell, the running backs. Farrell is injured, bad ankle. J.T. Smith, Roy Green, the wide receivers. Doug Marsh is the tight end. And St. Louis on offense for the first time. Sharp, Kennard, Chilton, Bostic, and Robbins at offensive line. Chilton the change at center. Robbins is starting a right tackle for Lance Smith. Green in motion, and the quick screen is through the hands of Roy Green. It'll be 2nd down and 10 at the 35-yard line. Albert Lewis would have picked up the coverage for Kansas City. The defense for Kansas City, basic set, Still, Moss, and Koch. And the 4 linebackers with Cooper, Hackett, Radisek, and Tim Cofield. Bureau rookies both playing very well. Excellent secondary with Lewis, Ross, Burris, and Cherry. 2nd down and 10, and we expect to see Lomax going to Roy Green. Stump Mitchell, the remaining back. Last week in the New Orleans game, Stump carried the ball some 20 times. This is his first carry, picks up 3 yards to the 38, It's going to be 3rd down and 7. Pete Koch makes the tackle for Kansas City. Very active last week with 10 tackles against the Denver Broncos. And here's a look at Stump Mitchell. He's a good one.
Yeah, he certainly is. He says he wants to carry the ball between 20 and 30 times. Has the opportunity because of the trade to Otis Anderson to the New York Giants several weeks ago. It is now Stump Mitchell's ball in the backfield. When they want to run the football, it's the Stump who gets the call.
And we have an injury timeout. And I believe that's Kennard. Yes, Derek Kennard, the offensive guard. And let's check the games in progress, the early games. 4th quarter, Denver, the Giants, we've been talking about their tie. Green Bay, look at this, 4th quarter, leading Chicago by 1 in that rivalry. Woo-hoo-hoo. Hello, world. Cincinnati out in front of Minnesota by 4 in the 4th quarter. Pittsburgh and Cleveland tied 28-28. Now remember, Cleveland beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh earlier this year. First time they've ever done that at Three Rivers Stadium. And New England in front of Buffalo. That's a quick change because Buffalo was in front of New England just a moment ago.
Right, it was 19-15. They must have come back and scored a touchdown. Yeah. So a couple of surprising scores this afternoon already.
And Houston defeating Indianapolis. The Colts, of course, still with their problems. And Detroit, as expected, over Tampa Bay. And here we are scoreless with 11-17. That is the time remaining in the 1st quarter.
The injury to Kennard is something the Cardinals simply cannot afford. They've had so many problems with their offensive line, not only because of injuries, and they do have their share of injuries. Lance Smith is not playing today because of a problem, but also because they simply have not performed very well. Neil Lomax and Cliff Stout, the quarterbacks, have been running for their lives standing behind that offensive line.
So I believe that Randy Clark will come in at center, and Chilton will move from center over to guard. Lomax going deep out of the shotgun. Far side, it is tipped. It is no good. There's a flag down.
From the other angle, it appears as if there's some pushing going on down below with J.T. Smith from that, Troy Johnson, number 87.
Number 29 on the defense. 1st down.
Going to Troy Johnson, and Albert Lewis called for pass interference.
Kevin Ross was coming from the other side. The Kansas City defense blitzed a cornerback. I don't know if that's the right thing to do for a couple of reasons. You got Roy Green out there, who's terrific as a man-to-man receiver, and there's no reason to blitz against this St. Louis Cardinal offensive line. They haven't held anybody out all year long.
So a big play for the Cardinals with a 1st down at the Kansas City 35-yard line. J.T. Smith in the slot on the right side. There's a blitz coming, and Lomax will go down. Cooper got him, and that is going to be the 1st sack for Kansas City. Kansas City with 32 sacks on the year. And it'll be a loss of 6 back to the 41, 2nd down and 16.
Well, they've got that strong set of very young linebackers. Dino Hackett, Scott Redisett, Tim Cofield, and Lewis Cooper there getting the sack from the outside on the blitz. Their linebacking crew coming into the season was the only question mark Kansas City had about their defense because of the youngsters Hackett and Cofield, but they've played much, much better than anyone would ever have hoped that they would.
2nd down and 16. Farrell and Mitchell are the setback. And Roy Green comes in motion. And here is Stump Mitchell, and he is decked by Tim Cofield. They'll mark it at the 40-yard line, so he'll pick up a yard. It's going to be 3rd down and 15. The injury report on Kennard, it is his left ankle, and the status is uncertain.
Neil Lomax back in after a 2-week hiatus, being lifted for Cliff Stout by Coach Gene Stallings. And you mentioned earlier when we began the broadcast that very possibly Gene Stallings is simply looking to evaluate talent. Maybe he sat down, just a theory, maybe he sat Neil Lomax down to find out exactly what kind of character he had. How does he react after being put on the bench for a couple of weeks? Well, we're going to find out this afternoon.
Lomax from the shotgun, pressure from Kansas City, and the pass over the middle is complete, and it is Troy Johnson. They're going to mark the play down at the 29-yard line. J.C. Pearson, the defender for Kansas City, he is the nickelback. 5th man coming in when they expect to throw.
Now what a catch by Troy Johnson. A 4.3 5.40. He can really fly, and so Kansas City's defense has got to worry about his deep speed. The Cardinals have had problems all year long with their wide receivers. Green was out because of an injury. Tilley is gone because of an injury. And there, Troy Johnson, the free agent signed several weeks ago, comes up with a big catch to bail Lomax out and setting up this field goal attempt.
46 yards on the field goal attempt by Eric Schubert, and he does not make it. So Schubert, in replacing the injured John Lee, misses from 46 yards away. We've got a timeout, and we have no score between Kansas City and St. Louis.
I always thought the Mazda SE5 was a good deal because it comes standard with just a ton of stuff. But catch this. Now Mazda's throwing in a bed liner, mud guards, sliding rear window, floor mats, even an AM/FM stereo at no extra charge. It's the SE5 Plus 5, and it's one truck deal that's too good to pass up. But if for some reason $650 worth of extra features at no extra charge doesn't get you out of your chair, don't come crying to me after it's over.
Hello? Yeah, I got your proposal.
When you have a phone that remembers 20 numbers and redials with one touch and automatically gets through when a busy line is free, and a whole lot more, you can get plenty of office work done at home or run your business from wherever you choose to live.
We got a deal. Okay, bye-bye. G.
No, GTE.
Once upon a time, millions of us roamed the bathrooms of America.
We're bull shavers, convinced we had to use shavers with all kinds of expensive extras.
But we don't pay an arm and a hoof anymore, 'cause us bull shavers are becoming
Bic shavers. Bic gives us an extraordinary shave at an extraordinary price, without bells or whistles. To pay more makes you, well, bullheaded. Try the Bic for normal or sensitive skin, and you too will have a beef.
with bull shaving.
In the pregame show, NFL 86, Ahmad Rashad was talking to one of the NFL players that got fined for looking at the cheerleaders during the ball game. Ahmad made the statement that if that had happened when he was playing, he would have missed a couple of checks. And now you're seeing the reason why you would have missed a couple of paychecks.
That has to be the most unusual fine ever levied in the history of the National Football League.
Don't you love it? All right, no score here. Kansas City at their own 29-yard line with Green and Pruitt as the running backs. Kenney the quarterback. The Denver Giant game still tied. Boyce Green to the 31, maybe the 32-yard line. We'll give him a couple. Let's call it 2nd down and 8. And the last report that we have from the Meadowlands is that the Giants are within field goal range.
And Raul Alegre, one of the many Giant kickers that will have an opportunity very possibly to win that football game. This may be a time for Kansas City to try to get their rushing attack healthy once again. As I mentioned earlier, the Cardinals secondary, second in pass defense in the NFC. That's because a lot of people are running against them and not throwing the football. They've got some holes to fill with their defensive line.
Paul Kaufman is in as a tight end. He's a good receiving tight end. And Kenney back to throw. As some pressure goes deep far side, and it is over the head of Henry Marshall. So it'll be 3rd down, and the official are going to mark it at the 32-yard line, so it is 3rd down and 7.
3rd and 7, 32.
The Cardinals, with the change of coaching staffs over the past year, went from a 4-3 to a 3-4. They take a look at Al Bubba Baker, and they're going to help out as much as possible. Not only does an offensive tackle have to help, but they also leave Pruitt in on that side for the particular purpose of helping against Bubba Baker. What he does and does exclusively is rush the passer. He's not that strong against the run.
Kenney fires over the middle. It is incomplete. He was going to Walt Arnold, the tight end, and Arnold was just crushed by Lionel Washington, number 48. And it will be 4th down and 7, and that means that Kansas City will be kicking. And Lewis Colbert, whose first kick was only, 27 yards, I believe.
And Lionel Washington with the big hit, he's someone that they have to keep and get healthy for the St. Louis Cardinal defense to be effective next season. He's recovering from a broken ankle sustained in 1985, a good man-to-man cover.
by Sikahema. Fair catch. Good kick. And he takes it back at the 22-yard line. 46 yards on the kick by Colbert. And Sherman Cockcroft was down very quickly on the coverage. We've got a timeout. 7:42 left to go first quarter. No score.
When I'm on a road like this and come up on the bumper of one of those 20-grand driving machines, I love watching the driver's face as I blow his doors off with my Mazda 626 GT Turbo. It isn't just the outstanding turbo either. Somehow the automatic adjusting suspension, the high-performance tires, the four-wheel disc brakes, all come together into one of the best road cars you ever put your foot into. And it doesn't cost anywhere near 20 grand. Uh-oh, this guy's gonna want me to buy him a new set of doors.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring except Fievel the mouse.
Presenting Fievel, the adorable star of Steven Spielberg's presentation of the Don Bluth film An American Tale. Now collect all 4 different McDonald's stocking ornaments featuring Fievel. Each one comes free when you buy the perfect stocking stuffer. A $5 book of McDonald's gift certificates.
This holiday season, give a terrific surprise. Free Fievel stockings with our gift certificates inside.
Way up here, a line shack can save your life when the weather turns the coldest. But the best time to stock it is always the hottest. And before you head back down, you head for the mountains. Bush. Head for the beer brewed natural as a mountain stream, for a taste as smooth as its name. Bush. Head for Bush beer. Head for the mountains.
The courageous story of Ted Kennedy Jr.
He has cancer.
I don't want to lose my leg.
You're going to make it, Teddy.
The powerful story behind the headlines, Monday.
With 6 seconds to go in the Giant-Denver game, Raul Alegre a 34-yard field goal. The Giants lead by 3. Denver out of timeout.
It'll be interesting to see how the Kansas City bench reacts when that is announced here to the stadium crowd at Busch Stadium. It does put them in the position to win today, go up just behind 1 game of the Denver Broncos in the AFC West.
And tied with the Raiders just a game back. And here is Stump Mitchell. And Mitchell to the 25-yard line, so he's got a couple of yards from the 23 to the 25. Tim Cofield makes the tackle. It will be 2nd down and 8. But now something is developing here, and we've seen this in a couple of games that we've had this year. The longer, let's check the 10-minute ticker. There's the Giants score by 3. Green Bay continues to lead Chicago by 1. Cincinnati by 4 over Minnesota. Pittsburgh and Cleveland, they look like they're headed towards overtime, and New England does defeat Buffalo. And Houston over Indianapolis, Detroit downs Tampa Bay. Here it is, no score. 2nd and 8. Play action fake by Lomax. He goes far side, and the pass is incomplete. He was going to Doug Marsh, the tight end, and Lewis Cooper had the coverage, so it's going to be 3rd down and 8 at the 25-yard line. In that Cleveland-Pittsburgh game, Gary Anderson tied it up with 7 seconds to go at 31-31. And so they are headed for overtime. So a lot of interesting things are going on.
Yeah, a few upsets already in the making. And here, St. Louis, the Cardinals would love to have one go up on the board against Kansas City as well.
3rd down and 8. And the longer that the Cardinals can hold on to the ball, they've had the only scoring opportunity, missed on the field goal. And here's Lomax. And he has the 1st down out to the 40. 41, maybe the 42-yard line. 17 yards. The 1st down. Whitney Paul makes the tackle.
Lomax may be like a rookie out there this afternoon, despite having quite a bit of experience in the NFL, because he has something to prove to Gene Stallings and to the St. Louis crowd that's here. Benched 2 weeks ago in favor of Cliff Stout. There you see the Giant game now final 19-16 over the Denver Broncos. And so the Kansas City Chiefs do have an opportunity to pull back to within 1 game of the division-leading Broncos. The LA Raiders 8-4 are just 1 game back.
They mark the play down at the 40. This is the 1st down. It is Juggle pulled down. Back-to-back 1st downs. This was J.T. Smith that pulled it in. And the Cardinals are on the move.
And there's someone who wants to have a fine game. Not only Neil Lomax, but J.T. Smith as well. Remember, he was released by the Kansas City Chiefs last year, picked up by the St. Louis Cardinals, and he makes a fine catch. One-handed grab, and that's just a little bit more adrenaline, Charlie, when he knows going against his former teammates, he wants to have the big game. You go the extra inch, the extra yard, and he gets it there and gets a block by Roy Green. Well, a missed block by Roy Green to pick up a few extra yards.
Lloyd Burris and Kevin Ross on the stop, and they'll mark it at the 44-yard line of Kansas City. I think I said the 38. It was the 44. And Lomax steps away and is being chased. And a comeback pattern on the far side is going to be incomplete, I believe, but there's a flag drop at the 24-yard line, and Deron Cherry is arguing with the official. So it may be holding in the secondary, because, Deron, you're going to lose that debate, I can tell you that. In the New England-Buffalo game, Tony Eason threw a touchdown pass with 1:20 to go to pull that one out, 22-19.
And that is important as far as the Kansas City Chiefs are concerned, because they are in competition with the Patriots for that wild card berth in the AFC.
There, of course, will be two, and right now the Raiders, Kansas City, I guess, in New England.
Interference, number 20 on the defense, first down.
And there you saw Deron Cherry continuing his argument, just to put a little bit of an arm on the official, just to say, Mr. Official, I didn't do anything. And the official looked at him, don't you ever put a hand on me again. Deron Cherry, quite a fine young man. We spoke to him, of course, last week prior to the Bronco game, and a heady player.
It's interesting, though, very seldom do you see that particular penalty called that far away from where the pass is thrown. Usually they will call it defensive holding rather than pass interference.
Yeah, very much so. And the ball was nowhere near the area, as you said, an unusual call in that respect.
But the ball is at the Kansas City 24-yard line. The Cardinals have a first down, and we have no score. And here is Stupp Mitchell, and he is stopped. He is met by Tim Cofield right at the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be second down and 10. The ball at the Kansas City 24-yard line. We've got 5 minutes, 4 seconds. That is the time remaining in the first quarter on a very cool afternoon in St. Louis. And the temperature is dropping. And they said it was still Indian summer.
They had some cold summers there, wherever the
Indians
yes,
throw.
That's right.
It's second down. Lomax to throw. Far side, and it is incomplete. He's going to Roy Green. Albert Lewis picked him up. And it's third down and 10. And the ball at the 24-yard line of Kansas City.
Roy Green shut out last week for the first time in quite a long while. In fact, last week, not catching a pass for the first time in 74 football games dating back to 1982. So he is a little frustrated this afternoon. It's 28 degrees. It is cold.
I didn't realize. I'm sorry I found that out. I thought it was warmer than that. Lomax has completed 2 of 5 for 27 yards as Roy Green comes wide to the near side.
There you see the drop-off in Roy Green. He has had an ankle problem, had surgery earlier in the year, missed 4 games on injured reserve.
And we have jumping and flying.
Encroachment, number 63 on the defense, still first down.
The call on Bill Moss. And he took off, and when he went, then Albert Lewis went right with him.
Everybody's looking in at the ball. Bill Moss has the best view of the football than anybody in the stadium. Sometimes the center, when the nose tackle is staring down at the football, will squeeze the ball just a little bit. Not snap it, just squeeze it, and that gets the nose tackle to moving. Lewis on the outside sees his nose tackle move, and he moves right along with him.
And you saw the penalty yardage already, third down and 5. Kansas City 53 yards in penalties. Of course, 20 of that came on the pass interference call on Deron Cherry. Now from the shotgun, here's Lomax. Has time, and he hits Green. 5-yard line. First down and goal to go for St. Louis. Kevin Ross pulled him down along with Sherman Cockcroft. And Lomax looking good.
That combination of Lomax and Roy Green were simply magic back in 1984, but they had a couple of things going for them. One was Rod Dowhauer, then their offensive coordinator. That magic has been missing the last 2 seasons. Now Roy Green finally getting a catch for the first time in the past couple of weeks. Has got to have his confidence a little bit higher than it was coming in today. And Neil Lomax and the Cardinals are on the verge of saying, yeah, maybe we can win this football game. At least get on the scoreboard first.
First down, goal to go, 5-yard line. Green in motion. And Lomax throws, and it is incomplete. And he was throwing to Roy Green underneath the coverage, and Kevin Ross was picking him up. And it'll be second down, goal to go. The ball at the 5-yard line.
A quarterback and a receiver will develop a rapport over a couple of seasons where they get the feel they know what the other guy is thinking. And so when someone like Neil Lomax drops back to pass, if he has any question in his mind and he has a debate where he should go, he'll look towards Roy Green. It always happens that way with a wide receiver and a running back. That's why politicking in the locker room for a wide receiver is very important. Take care of your quarterback.
Chicago with a 32-yard successful field goal by Butler they now lead Green Bay 12-10 with 2.5 to go in that ball game. That score just into us as Green with a little stutter step, and the pass is there. It is complete, and it is Roy Green with the touchdown. And the Cardinals have first blood. They put together a 77-yard drive in 11 plays. Eric Schubert to attempt the point after. Bernardo with the hold, bad snap. And Kent Austin, the holder, has tried to scramble for anything. So we've got a timeout. St. Louis has the lead 6-0.
This is the new Linear View Writer. To type as fast on an electric typewriter, you'd have to type a lot faster. To make revisions as fast, you'd have to type even faster. So get a Linear View Writer even faster. Linear, we're easy to use.
Who are you calling? You've been on the phone forever. The Air Express Company. They won't pick up the phone.
Hold it. If you'd called Federal Express, you wouldn't be having this problem. Come with me. You see, Federal has the most advanced communication system in the business.
I didn't know that.
And this lets us respond to calls in seconds and give you information quicker.
I didn't know that.
Next time, call Federal Express. Why fool around with anyone else?
I think I'll call Federal. Then maybe I'll get this stupid phone off my ear.
You know what Santa Claus and a quarterback have in common? We're only successful if our receivers are happy. So I take care of the hands, take care of me, with isotoner gloves. From the hefty running backs to the tall ends, isotoners fit them all. These guys, they love to get isotoners. The only time they receive something without getting knocked down. So this season, take care of the hands to take care of you with isotoner gloves.
Cannon's new personal copiers come in 4 colors and copy in 5.
Red your color.
And this replaceable cartridge makes them simple, even for you.
Lighten up, Jack.
They are light. Here.
What a guy.
For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-Cannon.
Next Sunday, the NFL plays here when the Steelers battle the Bears.
Before your team takes the field, our team hits the air. NFL 86.
Let's take a look at the touchdown.
Now, Roy Green, as you saw him go across the formation, he was looking into the secondary. That's because Pearson, number 24, has got to cover him. He stuttered a little bit right behind the quarterback. That forced Pearson to stutter just a second, and Green had the angle to the corner of the end zone. That's how he beat him across. Now let's take a look at the extra point. It seemed to be a good snap, but Austin simply dropped it. A good snap by DiBernardo, of course, to try to make something out of it. He throws the ball nowhere in the vicinity of the receiver.
On the return, here is Jeff Smith. And Smith returns to the 26-yard line where Kansas City will go to work. Let's take a look at the games in progress and the finals. The Giants winning, and their record now is 10-2. They stay atop the NFC East. Chicago still leading by 2, and that game is running out of time, and Cincinnati defeated Minnesota by 4. Pittsburgh and Cleveland are in overtime, and New England defeats Buffalo coming from behind in the last minute and 20 seconds of that ball game. Indianapolis loses to Houston, and Detroit defeats Tampa Bay. And here, St. Louis leads Kansas City by a score of 6-0, and they give us to Pruitt. And Pruitt is dropped at the 28-yard line. Gain of 2, it'll be 2nd down and 8 as David Galloway made the tackle.
David Galloway has had to adjust, as well as the entire front four of the St. Louis Cardinal defense, because they did switch from that 4-3 to a 3-4. Mark Duda was a starting tackle in that front last year. He has been relegated to the bench. He was the odd man out when they went from the 4 to the 3.
2nd down and 8. And to reiterate, of course, Denver losing. The record now is 9-3. The Raiders defeated San Diego in overtime Thursday night. Los Angeles just a game back at 8-4. If Kansas City wins this one, this is knocked away. Kenney catches his own pass. An attempt and a reception for the quarterback. And the tackle for Al Baker. And it'll be 3rd down.
You see this happen once in a while. Not very often, though. Watch. He's looking downfield to find a receiver, but the big paw of David Galloway comes up, and you have to wonder whether he thought for a split second, should I just let it fall to the ground, or should I catch it and take the punishment?
Mark it for no gain. It's 3rd down and 8. I think the reaction is that the ball's there, you just go for it, and then once you have it, you say, maybe I should have let it go. Paul Kaufman, a good receiving tight end, is in. 3rd down. From the shotgun. And the pass outside to Hurd, and he is dropped at the 31. Has 3. It'll be 4th and 5. Leonard Smith, the leading tackler, is the man who moves up and brings him down, and he's still playing with that soft cast as he has a broken bone in his hand. That's on the left side. You can see it. And the cast is underneath the glove, and Colbert will come in to kick. And Vai Sikahema is set for the return. And the Cardinals are beginning to believe that they can pull off the upset. Pretty good kick. Taken at the 34-yard line by Sikahema. He reverses. He's to the 40. Ran into his own player at the 48-yard line. He ran into Anthony Bell, and then Sherman Colcroft got him for Kansas City. Almost broke it.
He had the shot. He nearly did. I think it seemed that the formation, the blocking pattern, was set to the left side, but he caught the ball so far to the numbers on the right, he thought he would take it that way. Now he realizes he can't go that way. He's got to reverse his field back to the left. He finds the wall, and, well, actually somebody did sneak in behind and make the tackle. It looked from this angle initially that he did fall over his own man. Sikahema, one of the only bright spots for the St. Louis Cardinals this season.
John Makovic, the head coach of Kansas City, for St. Louis, 1st down at their own 48-yard line. 35 yards on the kick and a 15-yard return. And play action, and the blitz comes from the outside. Kevin Ross with the 2nd sack of the ball game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Nobody saw him coming.
No, and that's the 2nd time he came from that side. Kevin Ross came earlier. They were lucky to get the football away. Neil Lomax has been the most sacked quarterback in the NFL over the past 2.5 weeks.
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
139 sacks. Now with today, it's 141.
Right. That'll shorten somebody's career very quickly.
Yeah. He is beat up. I mean, that's a great point you bring up. That's a tremendous beating.
I think over a number of years, if that continues to happen, it's got to reduce the number of years he's able to play in this league.
2nd and 19. As protection, stands in, waits to the last moment, throws it. Didn't seem to bother him there. And it is pulled down by J.T. Smith. Kevin Ross with the tackle to the 45-yard line. He gets 6 of it back. Still going to be 3rd down and 13. 35 seconds and counting as we're coming to the end of the first quarter. Gene Stallings, head coach of the St. Louis Cardinals. This is his first year. Their record is 2-9. It's been a frustrating year for Gene. And in overtime, Cleveland defeats Pittsburgh. Kozar, a 36-yard touchdown pass to Webster Slaughter. 8:23 mark in overtime. Lomax goes deep, and it is almost caught. Troy Johnson with a great speed, showing leaping ability and good reaction, almost pulled it in. Ron Cherry was the cover man for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Troy Johnson, though, may not have been the receiver that Lomax intended. J.T. Smith, number 84, watch him crossing right behind. Was he throwing to 87, Troy Johnson, or was he throwing to 84, J.T. Smith? Doesn't matter, though. Johnson should have made the catch. It's a simple drop.
Hader, an excellent catch. Jeff Smith, fair catch, takes it at the 10-yard line. That's not a very good decision, is it?
No, you know, you never fair catch right at the 10-yard line unless absolutely, positively necessary.
Well, maybe it was. A 45-yard kick into the first quarter, and St. Louis leads it 6-0.
Liberty Mutual Insurance presents Legends of the Game. The original Golden Boy, he made the transition from the sunshine of Southern California to the bright lights of New York. The Giants' versatile weapon scored a team record 78 career touchdowns and passed for 14 more. Who was this legend?
Families have come to us. They believe in liberty, Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Our house is special to us, so we shopped around for homeowners insurance.
Liberty Mutual gave us the right protection at the right price. We believe in liberty.
America believes in liberty. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Frank Everett's Giants record for total yards endures today. His talent ensured him recognition as a legend of the game.
When they said it was 28 degrees that I put on the cap and the scarf, I believe in being ready. Now, St. Louis is starting to believe in themselves. Is it a possibility? Can they pull off the upset?
Well, they can pull off the upset. We were seeing a lot of possible upsets here this afternoon. Green Bay and Chicago. Whatever thought that game would be that close? 12-10 late in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that's the problem for a team like Kansas City. You allow the Cardinals to believe they can win the football game early. When you're going in against a team that's a big underdog, you got to knock them out early. Score a couple of touchdowns quick, deflate whatever possible confidence they may have of winning coming into the football game.
And also, there's not a very big crowd here today. A lot of empty seats. But then the crowd, even a sparse crowd will get into it, and then you go to another level again.
That's true. They've had problems with attendance here in St. Louis for a number of years. And now with the record at 2-9, you can see not very many people here in the stands.
And the score is St. Louis 6 and Kansas City nothing. The statistics in the first quarter, the Cardinals with time of possession and everything leaning to their side, including the score, 6-0, as Kansas City goes to work now at their own 10-yard line. And Herman Hurd gets the call. And he is stopped by David Galloway. Finals now, the Giants defeating Denver, Chicago over Green Bay, and in the last few seconds of that ball game, Cincinnati over Minnesota by 4. What a close games today. Overtime, Cleveland defeating Pittsburgh, and New England coming from behind late in that ball game over Buffalo. 2nd and 10 at the 10. Give it a yard, maybe 2. Let's wait and see as they unpile. And we'll go back to the scores with Houston soundly defeating Indianapolis, as Detroit did the same to Tampa Bay 38-17. And the game's in progress. Washington quickly in front of Dallas by 14. And of course, they now know that the Giants have won that game, and the Rams in front of New Orleans by a score of 7-0. San Francisco 10-0 over Atlanta early, and Seattle out in front of Philadelphia 7-3. Third down and 8 at the 12-yard line. And Kenney back to throw. And the pass over the middle to the tight end, Walt Arnold. They mark it at the point of the reception, which is around the 22 or the 23-yard line, which will be enough for the first down. They'll spot it at the 23.
And that was vitally important for Kansas City to come up with that, because they were being backed up and not doing very much. Take a look at some of the action going on inside. Kenney looking off one side and coming back to his tight end over the middle of the field. It is important to get their tight ends involved in the offense. That's been a problem they've had over the past few weeks. not getting to the tight end, most of the season. Now, eventually and finally, Arnold getting involved with the offense. It gives Kenney another receiver to throw to.
And this will go as an incomplete pass. As Kenney was in trouble, and he was just looking for somebody, and somebody couldn't hold on to it. Let's find out exactly what happened.
All right, so they go back to another tight end this time. Arnold to play before, now Jonathan Hayes. He's a release valve, actually. He was blocking on the play. When he saw his quarterback in trouble, he's able to release. But he gets to hang on to the football. Maybe better off at that point. It looked like it would have been a loss at any way. He was gang tackled by a host of St. Louis Cardinals.
And it is 2nd down and 10 at the 23-yard line. So the Chiefs beginning to sputter. As we have opened the action here in the second quarter, Larry Moriarty has just a yard to the 24, so it's going to be 3rd down and 9 as Leonard Smith, the strong safety, made the stop.
And they are beginning to sputter. Maybe they came into this contest thinking to try to get their running game going and help the anemic problems they've had back there with their rushing attack. But they've got to start throwing the football. That's the strength of Kansas City. And right now they are being shut down in many ways by the St. Louis Cardinals, surprisingly so.
3rd down and 9. Kenney back against a 4-man rush. And the pass is there, but I believe will come up shy of the 1st down as Jeff Smith came out of the backfield to pull it in. And it's going to be 3rd down. Wayne Smith made the tackle, and Louis Colbert comes in. It's going to be 4th down and 2 at the 31. And Vi Sikahema, an excellent return man, is set to give the Cardinals pretty good field position. Louis Colbert with the kick. And it is taken at the 32 to the 40 and pulled down at the 44-yard line by Louis Cooper. And so St. Louis has the ball, and they have the lead 6-0 with 11:28 left to go. We're in the second quarter.
If I thought that no one cared about the things I do in life, well, I'd still care about working hard and making it turn out right. Made in America, that means a lot to me. Oh, I believe in America and American quality. Here's to you, America, my best I give to you.
At Anheuser-Busch, it's the same personal commitment to quality that has kept our family of beers the finest in the world for over 100 years.
Here's to you, America, my best I give to you.
Somebody still cares about quality. Anheuser-Busch.
I am losing control. I have a TV remote, a cable remote, a VCR remote. Doesn't anybody make a TV with one remote control for everything?
Sure. Magnavox. This one comes with the universal remote. It controls the Magnavox TV and just about every brand of wireless, VCR, and cable.
A Magnavox controls Sony.
And Zenith, and RCA, and Panasonic, and...
I'll take the Magnavox, and you can take these.
The universal remote. It's 3 controls in one. Nobody puts it together like Magnavox.
Today's game is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Braun Electric Shaver. Braun designed to perform better. And by Magnavox, developing new technologies for your entertainment. Nobody puts it together like Magnavox. This is Charlie Jones along with Jimmy Cephalo with 11:28 left to go in the first half. And St. Louis in front of Kansas City, 6-0. The Cardinals, a touchdown pass from Neil Lomax to Roy Green from 5 yards out. A good snap on the extra point attempt, but Kent Austin, the holder, simply bobbled it, and so it is 6-0 as they never got the try off. And St. Louis has the ball at their own 45-yard line. Earl Farrell gets the call. Pete Koch is the man who stopped him.
And Bill Moss, the brother-in-law of Dolphin quarterback Dan Marino. The 2 All-Pros in the family there. Bill Moss, I would imagine eventually will become an All-Pro. He simply manhandled in watching the game against Seattle a couple of weeks ago. He manhandled everybody that Seattle put in front of him, and he's been doing that to a lot of centers around the NFL this year.
2nd down and 8. The ball at the 47-yard line. Green in motion. Lomax to throw. And it is incomplete. So it'll be 3rd down and 8. Back at the 47-yard line. Green, the intended receiver. Ross with the coverage. And a reminder to our viewers that we'll be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player for today's game at the conclusion of the game.
Kansas City's defense has been much improved over the past year. Walt Corey, their coordinator, has changed things up a little bit. They go to something what they call a bear defense, the 46 that was employed by Buddy Ryan last year with Chicago and now at Philadelphia. They play the same thing here.
3rd down and 8. And it is there to Roy Green. And a 1st down at the Kansas City 42-yard line. So a pickup of 11 yards on the play. Pearson with the stop. Here's another look.
What Roy Green does so well is play man-to-man. You see he gets Ross going up the field. I mean, he gets open in the man-to-man pattern. There it was a complete zone, though. It shows his ability and his experience to work well against both man-to-man defenses and against the zone.
First and 10 at the 42-yard line. The Cardinals in Chiefs territory, and St. Louis leads 6-0. Here's the reverse to Roy Green, and it fails to pull. A loss of 5 back to the 47 as Kevin Ross, the cornerback, had penetrated and just was laying in wait. 2nd and 15, 2nd quarter. Washington has added a field goal now in front of Dallas, 17-0, and the Rams lead New Orleans by 4, 7-3. San Francisco quickly out in front of Atlanta as the Falcons are faltering. And Seattle, boy, do they need a win. They lead Philadelphia 7-3. And Washington, of course, if they defeat Dallas, will be tied with the Giants with identical 10-2 record. 2nd and 15. Lomax to throw far side. It is there. It is complete to J.T. Smith. Kevin Ross with the defensive coverage close to the 1st down.
And
He may not have it. Yeah, go ahead.
He might not. Neil Lomax, really a confidence builder coming up for him. This is just a timing pattern. All Smith does is run 12 yards down the field and break out, regardless of what he sees in front of him. For Lomax, a timing pattern as well. He'll take 5 steps, not even look to check if Smith is open. He simply has to throw it out there. Timing pattern, something you work on week in and week out. And that's when I talked about earlier, the political movement between wide receiver and quarterback. Throw me that timing pattern, quarterback.
You like to locker next to the quarterback if you're a receiver, right?
Always.
Oh, good defensive play, a fumble. Kansas City comes up with the football. Big turnover for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kevin Ross hurting a little bit on the field. Here you see him isolated on the corner. He reacts to what he sees, but he has blitzed already twice in this football game. There, the fumble occurred a little bit earlier. He was not blitzing on the play, but does have the presence of mind. Nobody touched him there, you see. He wasn't touched down at all, able to come up, and eventually seems to be shaken up a bit on the play.
And Jay Novacek is the man who made the tackle and may have saved a touchdown. We'll be back in just a moment.
Fords riding the streets and trails and roads, for carrying people and hauling loads. When tough men need tough trucks and goods not enough. America's truck is built for tough.
Here comes the new shape of Tough, the big Ford pickup for '87, with a new aerodynamic design, completely new interior, new anti-lock rear brakes, and a lineup of power choices that should keep it America's best-selling truck for the 10th straight year.
You can go to the good times or work in the rough. When you're talking Ford truck, then you're talking tough. Ford's #1 now, and we mean to stay by building them better in every way. When tough men need tough trucks and good's not enough. America's truck is built for tough.
Hi, Andy. Ready for the history final?
History final? Is that today?
It sure is.
Let me borrow your notes, will you?
Hope you have your term paper finished.
Wait, I've forgotten which room it's in.
Right here, Andy. This suspense is gonna kill you.
Keeping up with schoolwork isn't easy. That's why the computer more kids learn on is Apple.
Tonight, they had a job to do, but it wasn't the one their parents expected. Where Police Academy left off, a new semester begins. Combat High tonight.
Let's take another look, and you'll see what happened to Stump Mitchell.
Bill Moss was obscured by the center Chilton for St. Louis. You couldn't see him at the beginning, but he just obscures Stump Mitchell when he touches the football. That caused the fumble. Now, the report on Ross as far as that he got poked in the eye. They expect him to be fine, and we'll get a further report to you as soon as it's relayed to us up here.
Herman Hurd and Mike Pruitt are the running backs. First down for Kansas City at the St. Louis 46-yard line. Now they need to cash in on it. And it is knocked down. Good defensive play for Carl Carter. Henry Marshall, the intended receiver. Kenney is now 5 of 10 for 31 yards and no touchdowns.
And this is not an easy defense apparently to throw against. We thought coming in the reason that they're not today at least, their secondary's been playing fairly well, second in the NFC, and we thought that maybe it was because many teams were simply running against them, but thus far they're making believers at least onto the Kansas City passing game.
Second and 10 at the St. Louis 46. 8:55 left to go. Second quarter. Cardinals lead it 6-0. Kenney fires underneath the coverage. And St. Louis has the ball. David Galloway.
Some good hustle by David Galloway. Remember, he's the nose tackle. What's he doing halfway downfield picking up the football? Well, good fundamental tells you to react to the ball, go wherever it is, regardless if you're getting beaten up in the middle as he is. 65, the middle of your screen. The ball is thrown to Paul Kaufman. It's punched out when he gets hit, and there's Galloway looking like a fullback running down the right sideline. Finally pulled down by number 89, Henry Marshall.
So an exchange of turnovers, and St. Louis has the ball at their 40-yard line. Offensively, the center Ray Brown has replaced Kennard, who was injured earlier. Stump Mitchell gets the call, and he'll have a yard to the 41 where Tim Cofield stops him, and it'll be second down and 9 at the St. Louis 41-yard line.
With the problem that St. Louis has had with their offensive line, and now with the injuries, Lance Smith being out, as you mentioned, and Kennard with an injury earlier in the football game, their running attack has been non-existent here this afternoon, and Lomax, as we mentioned earlier, sacked more than any quarterback in the NFL. Look for them to go to a short passing game. For my book, that's the only way they're going to be able to complete the ball today against Kansas City with that patchwork offensive line.
Second down. Here comes the blitz from the outside. The pitch is to Mitchell. And the defense is there. Cooper making the tackle.
But that was all Lloyd Burris that time. He stepped up to the line of scrimmage, blitzed from the outside, beat a blocker, and made the play. Lloyd Burris, the most valuable player, is voted by his teammates a year ago. Lewis Cooper mopping up when Burris created quite a traffic problem inside.
Third down and 16. The ball back to the 34-yard line. Second and 8, and Kansas City was expecting the pass, and they had a blitz from the strong safety and ran into the running game. And he was in the right place at the right time.
Right into the run. And Lloyd Burris is the wrong man to run. He makes that Bear defense work, by the way. Moss and Lloyd Burris, along with Lewis Cooper, make that 46 defense work. And here it is now. That is the 46.
Well, Max throws. It is pulled down by Earl Farrell. And Farrell will move to the 43-yard line. And And it will be 4th down. As we pause briefly for station identification, this is the NBC television network. This is Charlie Jones, Jimmy Cephalo, with 6 minutes and 42 seconds left to go in the first half. St. Louis out in front of Kansas City by a score of 6-0. It is 4th down and 7, and the Cardinals will be kicking. Greg Cater is the punter for St. Louis, and Jeff Smith set for the return for Kansas City. Good kick, really hangs it up. Fair catch is called for and taken at the 17-yard line. So the Chiefs will have the ball at their own 17-yard line, needing to get something going on offense. They have squandered a couple of opportunities. A 40-yard kick by Cater will be back.
It's time to change your light bulb. Philips Longer Life square bulbs last 33% longer than ordinary round bulbs.
At Braun, we believe simple is better than complicated. Order is better than confusion. Quiet is better than loud. Only through superior design can one achieve superior performance. It is this philosophy that has helped make Braun the #1 selling foil shaver in the world. What's also helped is that no other shaver gives you a closer shave. Braun, now available in America.
The first look will move you with revealing shapes that reveal even more about the overall design. But there's an inner design that can only be felt when these cars are actually driven. This is Ford today, designed to move you like never before.
Have you driven a Ford lately?
This is the new Linear View Writer. To type as fast on an electric typewriter, you'd have to type a lot faster. To make revisions as fast, you'd have to type even faster. So get a Linear View Writer even faster. Linear, we're easy to use.
Thanksgiving Day, the NFL plays here when the Seahawks battle the Cowboys.
Before your team takes the field, our team hits the air. NFL 86.
6 minutes and 18 seconds left to go in a surprising first half that really has been dominated by St. Louis.
Surprisingly so. Kansas City's offense has been non-existent through the first quarter and a half. They, I would imagine, are going to start going to the passing attack because the rush just has not worked against this Cardinal defense.
Now, Kansas City, without the services of Carlos Carson, he's out with a sprained foot, and that really affects their passing attack. We'll be talking about that right after this play. So they're going to stay on the ground. Here's Herman Hurd. Hurd to the 21-yard line, maybe the 22.
Hurd, the ball guy. You're right, it does affect the passing game. Carlos Carson is the man who can run deep, the only deep threat actually from the wide receiver corps of the Kansas City Chiefs. And for that reason, without a deep threat, that allows the Cardinals to play some zone stuff underneath, maybe blitz a linebacker, because man-to-man is not as difficult when you don't have that burner to worry about on the outside. Changes the whole complexity of the game with Carlos Carson being out.
2nd down and 5. And Kansas City continues to stay on the ground. Here's Mike Pruitt, and he's stopped by Al Baker at the 25-yard line. They'll pick up 3, so it's 3rd down and 2. Bob Claspy also there. Game's in progress. Washington continuing to shut out Dallas in the first half. 17-0. The Rams on top of New Orleans 7-3. We got a couple more. We'll get those. Get back to those in a moment. Kansas City at the 25, and here is Herman Hurd. A flag is down, and he breaks it to the 37 or the 38-yard line. It would be a first down if it stands up, but the penalty will go against Kansas City. So the Chiefs have been plagued by penalties.
And Herman Hurd getting back into the football game, as we mentioned earlier, fumbles earlier in the season forced him to the sidelines, but now getting an opportunity here.
Holding, number 85 on the offense, still 3rd down.
Holding on Jonathan Hayes, 4th penalty against Kansas City for 63 yards in the first half. So take it back to the 14-yard line. They're going to mark it the 15-yard line, actually. And the Cardinals have not drawn a penalty. 3rd down and 12. It's almost as if Kansas City only throws the ball when they're forced to throw the ball.
Which is very uncharacteristic of their offense.
Yes. Kenney back. Boys, Green on a little delayed screen. Now, if he was behind and they ruled a lateral, it's a backward pass and a touchdown for St. Louis.
David Galloway with the dance. That's the second time he's touched the football this afternoon. Maybe he danced too early. The officials are having a conference in the corner.
Well, one of the reasons they're having the conference, I'm sure that they want to give the replay official time to take another look.
But they did signal touchdown initially.
Now, remember, a backward pass cannot be advanced unless you pick it off in the air. A fumble can, but a backward pass cannot. If it's ruled a backward pass or a lateral, can only be recovered but not advanced.
But where does he recover it is the question.
Right there.
It cannot be advanced. It's 1st down and goal from the 6-yard line.
That's right.
And you go to the head of the class. Exactly. He picked it up about the 3-yard line, so that's where it has to stay. David Galloway a little disappointed. I was shocked.
I thought I had the score. But for Galloway, that is his 2nd fumble recovery. They're going to mark that he had possession, I believe, at the 6-yard line. And it's wherever he first had possession of the ball. Maybe we can take another look, but I thought it was a little inside of that spot. And that is, of course, something the replay official, could pick up and also tell them on. But St. Louis now with a big opportunity at the 6-yard line of Kansas City, where it is 1st down and goal to go. With Mitchell and Farrell as the running backs behind him. Here's Stump Mitchell. And he goes to the 4. And it'll be 2nd down and goal to go as Eric Holly makes the tackle. Jay Novak will be coming in and Ron Wolfley will be coming in to the offense for St. Louis. Dean Stallings, the head coach of the Cardinals.
Kevin Ross, we mentioned earlier, with that poke in the eye and on a fumble recovery, has got some swelling in the eye. They're going to hold him out a little while longer to further examine him.
2nd down, goal to go. 4-yard line. Showing the power backfield. And here is Farrell. And Farrell is pulled down, maybe a yard to the 3. It's going to be 3rd down and goal to go.
And obviously the most important play of the game thus far coming up, because it's in confidence. It's not just in the score of the game, but the confidence level of the St. Louis Cardinals. If they score here and they go up by 13 points, do they think then, yeah, of course we can win this football game?
Pete Koch making the last stop for Kansas City. And now if you have to throw the ball, you go to a timing pattern. You go to J.T. Smith in the far left corner.
Or you go to Roy Green underneath.
Green, a timing pattern, he cut it off, he came underneath, and the pass was towards the corner.
Well, that's a very common mistake executed by both a wide receiver and a quarterback that close to the goal line.
What?
For this reason, there's a defensive back. That's a timing pattern. The defensive back, you see the cornerback down here, this part of your screen, Loa? He was a yard or 2 off of Green. And the question is for a wide receiver and a cornerback, if the cornerback is a yard or 2 off the ball, then I'm going to run that quick out pattern. If he's up in the line of scrimmage, I'm going to run the quick timing pattern to the corner of the end zone. And it seemed that the cornerback was in an intermediate position. And because of that, Albert Lewis caused that. They weren't sure about whether they should go for either the quick throw over the top or the quick out, as the field goal is through and good.
From 21 yards away, Eric Schubert has the field goal, and the Cardinals now lead by a score of 9-0. And so, in reality, going back to the missed touchdown opportunity, Was it Lomax's fault? Should he have waited in and to see which way Green's going, or is there time?
No, simply miscommunication. There's no time. He's got to take 3 steps and throw the football. Albert Lewis, 2 steps off the line of scrimmage. Green decides, well, he's off the ball, right? 2 yards away. That means I run the quick out. It's an easier pattern for me to run. Lomax steps up and says, well, he's kind of close to him. I guess he's going to stay with the quick pass to the corner of the end zone. And when you step back and have to release the ball that quick, there's no chance to pull it back and decide, well, is he going to run the out or is he going to run the up?
Go ahead.
Common mistake, though, among the NFL.
And don't forget, it was David Galloway who set it all up with the recovery of the backward pass. And so now Kansas City down 9-0. Be sure to stay with us at halftime for all the scores and highlights and the standings around the league as things are constantly changing. Jeff Smith in the middle with Moriarty and Green on the corners, and Eric Schubert to kick off for St. Louis. 2:58 left to go in the second quarter. It is high and short, and Moriarty takes it at the 13, out to the 20. Larry returns it to the 29, maybe the 30-yard line. So he'll have a nice return of about 22 yards on the play, as Don Holmes makes the tackle for St. Louis.
The Kansas City, again, for their confidence level with just 2:50 left in the first half, they've got to get some kind of a drive going here. They are really being dismantled by the St. Louis Cardinal defense.
And by the way, Washington is dismantling Dallas. They now lead them 20-0 with 6 minutes to go in the first half of that ball game. First down, Kansas City. Kenney, a little play action fake, and he is sacked. Al Baker got him, and that is the 28th sack on the year for the Cardinals, and their first of the ball game.
And the 5th by Al Bubba Baker. As I mentioned earlier, that's what he does. He's a pass rusher, does not play the run very well. Teams do not like to get into a situation where they've got to throw the ball because Al Baker just lays back and gives it his all.
There was a chance to look at the scores and the time, and it is St. Louis 9, Kansas City nothing. Second down and 20, the ball at the 19-yard line. Herman Hurd and Mike Pruitt. They back to block, and he goes deep, and the receiver falls down. That was Stephon Page, who fell when he made his cut to the outside, and it's going to be third down and 20 at the Kansas City 19.
And frustration written all over the face of Bill Kenney. He's really starting to get flustered by it. He had mentioned last week that he was healthier at this time of the season than ever before because he had not been playing. Todd Blackledge had been the starter for the first 7 or 8 games of the season. But Kenney took a beating last week against Denver. He was on his back several times, blindsided, a hip injury late in the football game.
Shoulder injury, hip injury, right elbow, and he lost to 2. His daughter thought that was Gracie because she had lost 3. Yeah, he was beat up though. Has pressure, and he is sacked again, and Baker gets him. So 2 sacks for the Cardinals, and both in this defensive stand.
Well, that's what Bubba Baker does. They know he has to pass. There he is, number 60 down the bottom, going against Irv Eatman, and he runs Eatman upfield and then slaps and comes underneath. That's the greatest thing that Baker does. He's got that amazing speed and quickness. Not the strongest of players, but a lot of speed and quickness. And for an offensive tackle, they try to overcompensate by taking away the outside on his rush. He has the ability and the agility to slip inside, as he did there, to get his 2nd sack of the series.
And Louis Colbert will be kicking to Vai Sikahema. And the 2-minute warning will be given to both benches. We've got a timeout. The Cardinals have the lead. We'll be back in a moment.
It's in the look. It's in the feel. It's in the wind. Thunderbird has changed. This is the new design. This is the new Thunderbird.
Have you driven a Ford?
To score points with you, we must choose our communications weapons carefully. That's why we compete with products like Prism, the ultimate concept in watts. For maximum flexibility as your monthly call patterns change. We know our competition's good. We know we have to be better. And because we compete, you win. MCI. Communications for the next 100 years.
All good horse traders know horses. The best ones know cowboys, too.
He needs a little work, but the price is firm. He's worth it, but I'm a little short. Just pay me half now, and if I don't hear from you, he knows the way home.
Bush. Head for the beer brewed natural as a mountain stream, for a taste as smooth as its name.
Bush.
Head for Bush beer.
Head for the mountains.
This fall, NBC Sports has a November to remember when heart-pounding excitement returns to the greens, where one putt could be worth $450,000. Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino, and Fuzzy Zeller play the Skins game. It's a November to remember on NBC.
For St. Louis, Stump Mitchell has been held only 4 yards rushing and 8 carries. I have some more Cardinal statistics, but first things first is Colbert will be kicking to Vi Sikahema. Vi is moving out. He doesn't expect him to get it to the 50-yard line. And pressure, good kick. And Sikahema has to backpedal back to the 36-yard line. He's to the 40, the 45, and down at the 46-yard line, but an excellent kick by Lewis Colbert. Scott Radisek made the tackle, 47 yards on the punt.
And that's unusual for a punt return man. It's always easier to run up and catch a punt than to run back and catch a punt, because you have it in your vision the entire time when you're running up toward the ball and the line of scrimmage. But you've got to stop, turn around, and run back to a spot, then locate the ball again. It makes it a tougher catch. Plus, as you're running up, when he catches, you're on the move going toward the other way and making some yardage. When you're going backwards, you've got to readjust and start from a dead stop after you've caught the football.
Neil Lomax has completed 8 of 15 for 85 yards and a touchdown. Roy Green, 3 receptions, 29 yards, and the touchdown. Stump Mitchell, 8 carries, only 4 yards rushing. This is Earl Farrell. Farrell takes it at the 50, goes to the 49 of Kansas City. So it's a gain of 4, 2nd and 6. J.C. Pearson makes the tackle. Hurry up offense. And here is Stump. Mitchell shakes a couple of tacklers. He has the first down, goes to the 42-yard line. He has 8 yards on the play. Lathrop makes the tackle for Kansas City.
And as many yards on that play as he's had the entire rest of the game before. Only 8 yards on 4 carries coming into it.
The Achievers, those who faced adversity and refused to fail, sponsored by the U.S. Army. The Giants' Jerome Sally wasn't a big star at Missouri.
I never was one of those big-name ball players.
The scouts didn't rate this linebacker worthy of a draft choice. They didn't measure determination and pride.
I always tell myself, hey, you're just as good as the next guy. They put their uniform on the same way you do.
A graduate engineer, Jerome Sally, has drawn a blueprint for success.
A lot of hard work, determination, and going with an organization that believes in you.
A Ranger never takes the easy way out.
You're reaching deep inside you for things you've never known.
Go! That's why getting into the Rangers is tough, and the training is tough.
Be all that you can be.
So it makes me feel like I'm part of something really special.
Be all that you can be.
And I'm not the only one.
Find your future in the Army.
With 1:20, Kansas City has 3 timeouts remaining. St. Louis has 2 timeouts remaining. And St. Louis has the ball just outside the Kansas City 41-yard line with a first down. And the return of Neil Lomax after being out for the last 2 weeks, Cliff Stout has been the quarterback for St. Louis, not because of an injury. He was just playing poorly, and this man, Gene Stallings, head coach, set him down for a couple of weeks. He's looked pretty good.
He has looked very good, and as we mentioned earlier, maybe Gene Stallings was saying, let's check on that character, and so far Neil Lomax has responded well to it.
And here comes the blitz. The pass is intercepted. Kansas City has the ball. Green, the intended receiver, was that Deron Cherry? Yes, who picked off the interception. With a diving interception for Deron Cherry. That is his 5th of the year.
And a mistake on the part of Green, it seemed. He does break his pattern off, though. He saw the blitz coming from the inside. His job is to break the pattern out. I take that back. Let's not blame that on Roy Green. Let's blame that back on Neil Lomax. What happens there when he sees the man covering him blitz the quarterback? He breaks the pattern off as he did with the quick out. But Lomax, under great pressure, did not get it out to him. And Deron Cherry with his 27th career interception.
And Kansas City has the ball at their own 39-yard line, first down. 1:14 left in the first half, and they have 3 timeouts. And they need to get something going. Wobbly high and almost intercepted back. Carl Carter had his hands on it. Kenney is down. And Kansas City will take a full timeout. This is not an injury timeout. It's a full timeout. And it will be second down back at the Chiefs' 39-yard line. And we'll be back in just a minute.
Okay, guys, tomorrow's game day. When I say coverage, I mean every yard of that field. Mow them down, right down to the last stripe of that end zone. Are you with me? Yeah! Okay, roll them out!
He's George Toma, head groundsman for the Kansas City Chiefs and special field consultant to the NFL covering all Super Bowls. Thousands see his work every week on national TV, but few know of his commitment to helping children in his community. Here at the Crippled Children's Nursery School, George works for a different kind of victory as a United Way volunteer.
That's my Super Bowl, is to see those kids smile. The victory, I think, to everybody, is the United Way. This is what we mean when we say, thanks to you, it works for all of us, the United Way.
This message furnished by the National Football League.
Now, the reason that Kansas City took the full timeout is Bill Kenney did not want to come out of the ballgame.
Right.
If it was an injury timeout, he'd have to come out for a play.
And it seemed he was pointing to his tongue. He showed
I think he bit his tongue.
That's what it appeared to be from up here. He may have trouble yelling the signals out at that point.
He lost the tooth last week, bites his tongue this week. Inside handoff, it is there, boys. Green. And Green close to the first down. It was second down and 10. Clock moving, 1 minute to go. And, of course, that's plenty of time. David Galloway makes the tackle. That is the time remaining in the first half. St. Louis up by a score of 9-0.
And they've got to get the first down on this play. Third and just about a yard to go.
Good point. And there it is. They do have the first down. Boys Green. Now they'll call the timeout. And that means they have only 1 timeout remaining. And they will want to save that, if possible, for a field goal attempt.
Yeah, with 44 seconds to go, they have to save the final timeout or they'll never get their field goal team on the field. So what that does, it changes their strategy. Their patterns have got to be run either to the sideline or through the end zone. Nothing in the middle of the field here will work.
Washington just running away from Dallas. Look at that, 27-0 in the second quarter. And the Rams still in front of New Orleans by a score of 7-3. San Francisco comfortably in front of Atlanta in the second. And Philadelphia creeping up on the Seahawks. It's now a 7-6 ball game. They are in the second period. And don't forget, at halftime, NFL 86 scores and highlights with Bob, Ahmad, and Paul. And by the way, there's a feature that you'll see at halftime. You know about Napoleon McCallum was playing for the Raiders. Well, Eddie Myers, who is a Marine at Camp Pendleton, was a member of the Atlanta Falcons, but the Marines said no. The Navy said yes. Bob Costas talked to both of the men. It'll make an interesting halftime feature.
Yeah, I'd like to see that myself. There you saw.
Well, I'll get a tape of it and send it to you.
Okay, there you Lowry,
that up.
Lowry and Colbert, they were not praying to a porcelain god, or whether that was a heater on the sideline trying to keep their feet warm.
A porcelain god?
I don't know what else to call it.
I don't know. We could use a couple more here. It's cold. It's in the 20. Shotgun. Kenney throws, and the pass is complete to Henry Marshall, and he is dropped by Carter. And I kind of thought Carter got there for the ball, but he held on to it, and play just keeps moving right along. 29 seconds and counting. They're pretty well within the field goal range, though, of Nick Lowry. Remember, he can go long distance, and it is overthrown, and it is intercepted. It will be a touchback. Cedric Mack intercepts it. His momentum is going to take him into the end zone. They're going to rule that he made the interception. They signal a touchback, and they're bringing it out to the 20-yard line. Let's take another look.
And Kenney just overthrows the wide receiver. The important part about this play, one, is that, of course, shuts Kansas City out of the scoreboard in the first half. The other thing is it may keep the St. Louis Cardinals out of the record books. That's just their 5th interception all year long, and they are in danger of catching a host of other teams who had 6 interceptions through this schedule. An embarrassing note for Gene Stallings, whose specialty is coaching defensive backs.
Now, it is interesting because he makes the interception. I thought he had possession about the 1-yard line, then went in. If he does, then they bring it out the spot of the interception. The one they're saying officials are ruling he did not have possession until he was in the end zone. Now, the delay right here, I think, is for the replay officials to go back and take a look because his momentum took him into the end zone. Now, if he had possession at the 1-yard line, the spot of the interception is where it should be played.
And the reason that's important is because if they do mark it down at the 1-yard line, just 18 seconds left of the contest, they've got to move the football forward to make sure they don't get the safety. Here at the 20, Lomax can just take it and sit down on one knee and let the clock run out.
Now, that's why the delay here. The replay officials are looking at their replay machines at the replay of the interception to see where the ball is. Should it be spotted there, or should it be brought out to the 20-yard line? All depends on where he had possession. His momentum, it's not a problem of the safety. The momentum taking him into the end zone. It's where he caught it.
And that's a change from this year, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, see to the 1-yard line.
Yeah, review by the replay official. The play stands. It's a touchback. First down and 10.
Well, once again, the replay official is incorrect.
You don't agree with him.
I don't agree with him. Well, that's what the rule is. The rule.
All right, that was so close, though. You know, it appeared there that I myself, I am not a big fan of replay officials. You know that, not of the official, but the system. But there, I've got to say, it was close enough that I would not be offended of them putting the ball at the 20-yard line. Remember, it's not just when he touches the ball; it's when he actually gains full possession of it. And maybe sometime before this game is over, we'll get a chance to look at it. And I can't believe I'm defending the replay system, but in that case, I am.
It's an all-time first. Well, we worked our way to halftime. And St. Louis is in front of Kansas City by a score of 9-0. And that means that NFL 86 activities, or halftime activities, will continue in a moment. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Since not everyone stays up for late night, David Letterman's second annual Holiday Film Festival is playing in prime time.
It's called A Television Miracle. That's right.
Starring Michael J. Fox, Terry Garr, Diane Sawyer, Jonathan Winters, and more. It's David Letterman's second annual Holiday Film Festival.
We're going to have a bitchin' party, guys.
Hi, I'm Rod Lewis. I promised Toyota Motor Company I would sell 60 more new Toyotas before the end of November. A promise is a promise. So I'm making the best deals I've ever made. 6 of the top 10 most reliable cars made are Toyotas. You may be looking at yours right now, because if you're ready to buy, I'm ready to sell. We're open evenings, I'll discount, give good trade allowances, or whatever it takes. I've got to sell 60 more cars, trucks, and vans before the 30th. So now's the time to buy. Come to Lewis Toyota, 2525 North Topeka.
When business got tough, Jim Moore had to let go an employee, a friend. But with a stubborn belief,
I think you know I didn't.
A great service. And by keeping his ad in the one yellow pages he knew people used.
Welcome back, Ed.
Today, things look a lot brighter.
It's worked today.
The one and only Southwestern Bell Yellow Pages. It's the best partner a business ever had.
KSNT, TV 27, Topeka, Kansas.
Bob
Costa's back in New York. Let's run through the scores for you. The Redskins are pummeling the Cowboys at RFK 27-0. Kelvin Bryant and George Rogers both have touchdown runs. Jay Schrader, a 71-yarder to Clint Didier for another Redskins score. They have stopped the Cowboy offense cold, and apparently they will stay tied at 10-2 with the Giants atop the NFC East. The Rams, late in the second quarter at home, leading New Orleans 10-3, despite the fact that Jim Everett has been intercepted twice by the Saints. Eric Dickerson already has 62 yards rushing and a touchdown. San Francisco pounding the slumping Falcons at Candlestick 20-0. Don Griffin, a 76-yard punt return for a score. Joe Montana, a 3-yard pass to Jerry Rice for another one. In the game you're watching, the Cardinals get a touchdown pass, Lomax to Green, though they missed the point after. The former Giant Eric Schubert kicked a 20-yard field goal, and they blanked the Chiefs 9-0 through the first half. Seattle just got a Terry Taylor block of a punt by the Eagles, and Taylor picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown seconds ago. A 14-6 lead late in the second quarter at the Kingdome. Earlier, David Craig threw 72 yards to Darrell Turner for their first touchdown. This afternoon at the Meadowlands, the Giants went to 10-2, 19-16 over the Broncos, and before Raul Alegre's fourth field goal of the day with 10 seconds to go won it, this was the big play. Denver led 6-3 in the second quarter. Elway tries to flip into the right flat, and there's the veteran lineman George Martin making a great play. Fakes a lateral to Taylor, decides to keep it, sheds Elway, jumps over Sammy Winder, who tries to tackle him. Good block there as well to get him out of the way, and in he goes 78 yards for his 7th career touchdown, 6 of them as a lineman. He also caught a pass on one play, but 6 touchdowns as a defensive lineman is a league record. Let's turn to Ahmad Rashad. You profiled the Giant defense on the pregame show, and they just about stopped Denver cold today.
They really did, Bob. I mentioned that they were one of the most feared and respected defenses in the league, and they proved that today by holding that high-powered Denver offense to 16 points. But I think even more important is the way they won the game. The last 2 weeks, they've come from behind, and I think that's a tremendous confidence builder going into the playoff situation. And I'd like to say congratulations to George Martin, a former Fighting Duck from the University of Oregon, who had a great game today.
So the bloodlines are excellent,
That's right? That's right.
Okay. Now, if Kansas City beats the Cardinals, they'll have to rally to do it. Kansas City and the Raiders would each be only 1 game back of Denver in the AFC West. The key here is Kansas City has a game at home remaining with Denver before the season is over. Denver has already swept the season series head-to-head with the Raiders. The Bears beat Green Bay today 12-10 on a late field goal by Kevin Butler. Let's take a look at some of the action from this one. Jim McMahon had a miserable first half, intercepted twice, completed only 6 of 20. This is one of the interceptions by Mark Lee, but watch what happens on the same play. This will be Charles Martin, who well after the play has concluded, throws McMahon down, and he is ejected from the game as a result. A little bit later, Sean Gale will block this attempted punt by Don Bracken of the Packers into the end zone. Dennis Gentry recovers for a touchdown and a 9-0 lead. After the Packers rallied to go in front 10-9, the Kevin Butler field goal won it late in the game for the Bears, who are now 10-2. The Bengals are 8-4, winning at home over Minnesota 24-20. But Cleveland stays tied with them atop the AFC Central. They win in overtime 37-31. Let's listen to the clincher called by Don Criqui.
Audible. 1st and 10. Kosar, long ball. It's going to go for a touchdown. The game's over. Webster Slaughter.
So the Bengals and Browns are tied. They meet in week 15 of the 16-game season in Cincinnati. Perhaps the division title will be at stake. But the key is, of the remaining games, the Browns have a much easier remaining schedule than do the Bengals. So Cleveland 37, Pittsburgh 31. Paul?
Bobby, isn't it amazing what happens to a quarterback like Kosar? Now, last year, the Cleveland Browns had 2 running backs that got over 1,000 yards. All of a sudden, Cleveland goes out, they find a couple of wide receivers, takes the pressure off the running backs and off of Ozzie Newsome, who now is starting to catch the ball because they have some wide receivers. It makes for a great quarterback. I think Kosar is, if he has the protection, or keeps the protection he's getting, he's going to be someone to reckon with, because the man obviously can throw the football, and he's very young.
Let's check the rest of the scores. The guys from your hometown, Buffalo, have now lost 22 consecutive road games, 1 shy of the record for futility, 23 straight road losses by the Oilers a couple of years ago. 22-19 is the final at New England. At one time, the Pats led 15-0. The Bills came back, led 19-15 briefly before Eason threw to Greg Beatty, the rookie from Stanford, 13 yards late in the game to pull it out for the Pats. Houston goes to 3-9. The Colts are 0-12. It was 31-3 before the Colts scored 2 touchdowns in the last minute as a consolation prize. 31-17 the final. Warren Moon throws for 3 touchdowns for the Oilers, and so the Colts are still in line to draft Vinny Testaverde. Whether or not he wants to play for them is another question. Testaverde, the almost certain winner of the Heisman, will be our guest on the pregame show next Sunday on NFL 86. And Detroit won at Tampa Bay today, 38-17. Joe Ferguson threw a couple of touchdown passes for the Lions. Late in the game, he stepped aside. In came Chuck Long, the rookie out of Iowa, and on his first ever NFL pass attempt, he threw for a score to Leonard Thompson. The second half between the Chiefs and Cardinals coming up right after these messages from your local station. Stay with us.
He is the victim.
You're under arrest for murder.
She is the accused.
You don't have an alibi.
Matlock is the lawyer.
I am trying to save your life.
Then you are the jury. Did the young boy kill his girlfriend?
You did. I didn't do it.
You killed her, Jimmy! Objection! You murdered her!
You decide. You are the jury in Matlock, Tuesday.
Buying a used car? Think about it. Think selection. Think reputation. Think Bill Kobach, the guy that sells Buicks at Ford and Chevy prices. That means a great selection of Fords, Chevys, Chrysler cars, and Buicks too, of course. Good cars you can depend on, from the dealer you can depend on. Bill Kobach, your 2-block-long, one-stop place to shop for Buick, Isuzu, and GMC trucks with a super selection of used cars at 2044 South Topeka.
Welcome back to NFL 86. You know, playing ball at one of the service academies has never been the most direct route to the pros. For example, Roger Staubach won the Heisman in 1963, graduated from the Naval Academy a year later, and didn't begin his Hall of Fame NFL career with the Cowboys until 1969. That's the way it's been until now.
Ensign McCallum, U.S. Navy, reporting for duty.
Reporting to both the Navy and the Los Angeles Raiders, Naval Academy graduate Napoleon McCallum holds down 2 full-time jobs these days. The Navy has relaxed a long-standing tradition by allowing him to play professionally while still completing his 5-year military obligation. And they've conveniently stationed him aboard the USS Peleliu at Long Beach Naval Shipyard, just a half hour from the Raiders practice site.
You know, when I walk into the locker room, you know, I'm in uniform and everybody will go, a 10 hut, you know, or here comes our weekend warrior. And, you know, Nap just flew in on his helicopter. A lot of, you know, kidding like that. But pretty much they respect what I'm doing, and they feel for me, and they wonder how I can keep doing what I'm doing.
What he's doing is waking up at 4:20 each morning and then going to work as a food service officer aboard the Peleliu. Now, McCallum realizes that had he been unencumbered by his military obligation, he could have been a first-round NFL draft choice. As it was, the Raiders were smart enough to take a chance on him in the 4th round. He's a reserve running back and dangerous kick return man. And the irony isn't lost on McCallum, working for 2 organizations with distinctly different images.
That's what the Raiders do. They play rough, tough football. We're aggressive. And I think I can fit that mold, you know, on Sundays and still come back on Mondays and be the officer and the gentleman that I'm supposed to be.
But the critics say McCallum is not exactly what he was supposed to be upon graduation from the Naval Academy. After all of these past Service Academy stars fulfilled their military obligations before ever moving on to the pros, where they performed with varying degrees of success. They all knew they were giving up precious pro seasons, but they all knew the rules as well. The price of a free military education: serve now, play later.
Well, the Academy certainly is not here to produce professional athletes. The Academy is here to produce professional naval officers.
We just don't believe that the taxpayer should be subsidizing us training professional football players.
On the other hand, you can argue that having an appealing young man like McCallum performing in the NFL is excellent PR for the Navy, a great recruiting tool, and besides, says Napoleon, he's doing both jobs.
A lot of people thought, you know, I'm wasting the taxpayers' money. I should be serving the Navy. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm serving the Navy.
About 90 minutes down the road at Camp Pendleton, we find Marine Captain Eddie Myers. In 1981, while playing for the Naval Academy, Eddie Myers was the nation's 5th leading rusher behind names like Marcus Allen and Herschel Walker. In fact, Eddie held most of the Naval Academy rushing records eventually broken by Napoleon McCallum. Now, for the past 4 years, while stationed here at Camp Pendleton, Eddie Myers has lodged 4 separate requests for a change of duties, which would allow him to play with the Atlanta Falcons while still fulfilling his military obligations. All 4 requests, including his most recent appeal to the Secretary of the Navy, have been denied.
I was not at any one point in time trying to get out of my military commitment. All I've ever requested was to either alter it so I would either do it after my football career or serve it concurrently if that was possible.
But the Marines have told him repeatedly there are no appropriate military positions available for him in Atlanta. So Eddie Myers continues to dream, work out on his own, use his leaves to visit the Falcon camp in the summer, and argue his case.
I felt that the Marine Corps and the Naval Service as a whole, the Naval Academy, would have benefited greatly from my playing in Atlanta. I think that would have been a great benefit towards the assistance of recruiting, just to show fellow Marines that that you can be in the Marine Corps, be a Marine Corps officer, be enlisted in the Marine Corps, and still pursue, if you have a special talent in one aspect or the other, still be able to pursue that talent.
Eddie Myers is proud of being a Marine, and his superiors will tell you he has served well. But still, when his obligation ends a year from now, he plans to take a crack at the NFL at age 28. Myers and McCallum are friendly, by the way, and certainly Eddie feels no resentment toward Napoleon. But what he views as an inconsistency does gnaw at him, and a question arises. Is McCallum merely a lone exception, or has some sort of precedent been established here? A precedent that might affect the future of the Naval Academy's All-American basketball center, David Robinson. A certain early first-round NBA pick this year, were he free to play. Interestingly, Robinson might be an exception for a different reason. His very height disqualifies him for duty aboard ship or in the air. He's 7 feet tall. Although the Navy could require him to work in public affairs or intelligence, some area like that. Robinson, by the way, scored 36 points yesterday as Navy was beaten by North Carolina State, 86-84. NFL 86 halftime activities will continue in a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back to St. Louis here at halftime. The Cardinals in front of Kansas City by a score of 9-0 during half. You know, we had a couple of plays in the first half that the replay official was involved in. We talked to Fred Silva during halftime. He was very thrilled that we were talking about it. And he said, you know, we were right on the one, and he disagreed with us on the other. He said, you know, you guys were wrong on the other.
No. I agreed with him on the other one when the interception went into the end zone. He said he took another step, and the player had the ball when he was into the end zone, so it goes back out to the 20. Interesting note, though, on the other play down the other end, when there was the backward pass from Kenney to one of his running backs, the ball was placed at the 6. It should have been placed about the 4-yard line, and Fred Silva did call down to tell them it should have been placed at the 4, but his pager broke. And so the system breaks down once again.
Yes, it does. Yeah, but it is still working, and so and we're with it for this year.
That's right. We will have it through the year, and of course the owners will take a look at it at the end of the season.
Now what we're with is this ball game right now, and it has been all St. Louis. Let's go back and review the highlights of the first half.
And it begins with a field goal with the Cardinals getting on the board. Or excuse me, this is one they missed. Short and to the right, and they do not get on the board, but they do here. This is the first touchdown that St. Louis scores during the first quarter all season long. That was Green getting in on the 5-yard pass from Lomax, and then the field goal goes through from a short distance for the score 9-0. Lomax did have his problems, the blitz coming in, Green making a break off, but Lomax not reading it correctly, and the interception. That set up this possibility by Kenney. With no timeouts, though, he has to go deep, try to get into the end zone. He goes to Kaufman, but the ball is intercepted, and that is the one that we mentioned before with Fred Silva. He says that, yes, the interception took place into the end zone, so it does come back to the 20-yard line. Take a look at the first half stats. The Kansas City Chiefs with only 4 first downs in the entire first half. Both rushing and passing has been anemic. 39 and 36 yards respectively, 75 total yards. Their offense in real trouble. Kenney just 7 of 15, not bad, but not for a great number of yards.
What has happened to Kansas City? They're flat. They should be up. Denver lost today. They know that they can move within a game of the Broncos.
They are really, it's not a long flight coming in from Kansas City to St. Louis.
And it's the same time zone.
It's up. They're blowing a great opportunities. I'm sure John Malkovich walked in and said, you know, you're really blowing an opportunity. You've got a shot at the playoffs. Just because you got beat last week by Denver does not mean you're out of this thing. All you have to do is come in here and beat a team that's 2-9. And they're not doing it. They're running the ball on first down for little yardage. And Kenney has not been effective this far.
Sycamore for St. Louis after the 10, the 15, the 20, 25, 26-yard line. And that's where the Cardinals will go to work only once this year. Now, the Chiefs been shut out in the first half, 16-0 at San Diego. They came back to win that ball game. Lewis Cooper making the tackle here. Greg Hill, as if holding his stomach and coming out. No, I think he's going to stay in. So Greg Hill will stay in the secondary, and St. Louis will go to work at their own 26-yard line, first down. And of course, the Cardinal locker room much more relaxed, I'm sure, during this halftime than Kansas City. On the pitch to Stutt Mitchell, and Mitchell will lose a yard back to the 25, so it's going to be 2nd down and 11 as Dino Hackett, the rookie out of Appalachian State. No, it's Lewis Cooper again who was there. Excuse me. Cooper having a pretty good ball game.
Cooper's 2nd and 11. And the young linebacker crew of Kansas City is having just a terrific year. I would imagine Dino Hackett has got to be considered as the defensive rookie of the season in the NFL. More than 100 tackles. In fact, 40 tackles more than anybody else on the Kansas City defense, and that's remarkable for a rookie coming into the league for the first time.
The veteran in the secondary is Radisek. He's in his 3rd year. He's the grand old man of the linebacker.
Yeah, he goes in there and he calls the plays for it.
2nd and 11. The pass is it intercepted? Almost, and it was Lewis Cooper who was in the area along with Scott Radisek. And it's going to be 3rd down and 11. Doug Marsh, the intended receiver. And one thing that if Kansas City is going to get something going, they need to establish a confidence factor right now. They need for the Cardinals to hold them here, 3, punt, have an opportunity for Kansas City to try and do something.
And they have to do it the way they did it last week. Their defense has got to provide them with an opportunity to get back into this football game, as they tried to do last week against Denver. Unfortunately, their offense and their special teams didn't cooperate last week.
A fumble recovery and an interception, but both times Kansas City gave the ball back. And Lomax is sacked. It is the defense that comes through. The 3rd sack of the ball game for Kansas City. And we'll give this one to Bill Moss.
And also credit that sack to Greg Hill, number 23, who's filling in for Kevin Ross. He had great coverage on Roy Green, allowing the pressure to get in and to sack Lomax. The ball came out, but it's recovered and just a little bit late. Apparently, Lomax is already in the grasp and ruled down by the official.
Loss of 8, and here is the kick. And Jeff Smith, it goes over his head. He lost it in either the lights or the night, and it rolled for another 10 or 12 yards. A major mistake by Jeff Smith.
Yeah, that is a major mistake. You've got to always catch the football back there, regardless of where it is, especially when it was only 4 or 5 yards over his head. The only answer must be that he lost the ball on the lights in some way, although it seemed to be high enough to get out of the lights pattern. Here at Busch Stadium, I've played here before during the nighttime. There is calling for the fair catch. You see, it's only a few yards beyond him. It seems like he just misjudged it. But the lighting situation is good here for a receiver and a punt returner.
So it goes as a 52-yard kick, and Kansas City has the ball at their own 31-yard line. First down, their first opportunity from scrimmage in the 2nd half, and Mike Pruitt gets the call.
And they come out running once again on first down. That was one of their problems in the first half. They did run on first down, but they did not get more than 4 yards. And in the NFL, that's the situation you have to have on first down, to set up at least a 2nd and 6 situation so that you can have the option of running or throwing. They have that now, which puts the St. Louis Cardinal defense at bay.
2nd down and 4. 37-yard line. Chiefs in their own territory. Herman Hurd. And Hurd, with those fresh legs, goes to the 48-yard line. He has 11. And the first down.
And Hurd running like the running back of old. He said he just wanted another opportunity to go in and show that those fumbles were not something that was a habitual problem, but something that simply occurred against him. You can see he is a fluid runner, and really the best pure running back as far as rushing ability is concerned that the Kansas City Chiefs have. They're going to need him if they're going to continue on their way to the playoffs, because their rushing attack needs an added boost.
First down for Kansas City. Kenney to throw far side, and the pass is there. It is complete. And Walt Arnold, the tight end, is the man who pulled it in. Carl Carter had the coverage. St. Louis, 46-yard line.
And already you see the change of strategy that John Mackovic is deploying here in the first half, or excuse me, in the second half as opposed to the first half. First down, they get a good running play the previous time. Now a first down situation. They go to the quick out, pick up 5 yards. Now they've got the option. They can run or they can throw, because St. Louis isn't quite sure with just 5 yards to go for another first down.
2nd and 4. And they come back with a rushing play. Here is Hurd. He cuts and goes to the 44. It's going to be 3rd down. Still about 1.5 yards, maybe 2 to go for the first down. Al Baker makes the tackle. Today's telecast, now actually tonight's telecast, presented by Authority, the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals and the National Football League is prohibited. 3rd down, short yardage. Do you gamble and go deep here?
Yeah, well, no, I think here you've got to get a first down, because it's vitally important to them for motivational factors and for confidence to get something out of this drive.
Here's Larry Moriarty. The one tackle is down at the 45-yard line. He loses a yard. So it is 4th down and 3 at the 45-yard line. Carl Carter made the tackle. And that means that Louis Colbert will be punting.
Larry Moriarty was known as Jerry Glanville's yard-and-a-half back in Houston, and since coming here for the trade, he's getting a little more mileage out of a one-back offense that Kansas City has employed because of the injury to Jeff Smith. There, though, knocked off his feet and unable to use the great power he has to get that yard-and-a-half when necessary.
Excellent defensive play by Carl Carter, who is the rookie taken in the 4th round of the draft out of Texas Tech. And this will be chased into the end zone for the touchback. So we'll bring the ball out to the 20-yard line, where St. Louis will have possession with 10:54 left to go in the 3rd quarter. A 45-yard punt. The Cardinals out in front by 9.
Nothing escapes the eye of Maxim. The world's first SLR with built-in autofocus, Minolta Maxim focuses by itself. Sharp, fast. Only the human eye focuses faster. With Minolta Maxim, you even get unexpected shots that would have gotten away. The incredible Maxim system.
Only from the mind of Minolta.
Here's your burger, and...
Sometimes brakes can give you a gentle hint that they need a little work.
Take it to Midas.
Over 4 million people have trusted their brakes to Midas. Good price, good guarantee. We won't break you.
Whoops. Take it to Midas.
Whoops, huh?
Take it to someone you trust.
There's a fire-breathing creature Chrysler's imported from Japan. Conquest TSI. The intercooled turbo coupe built by Mitsubishi. So hot it'll smoke the 300ZX and RX-7. Conquest TSI. Now at your Chrysler dealer.
Today's game is being brought to you by Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. By the Stanley Works. Stanley helps you do things right. And by Midas. For mufflers, brakes, and shocks, trust the Midas touch. This is Charlie Jones, Jimmy Cephalo, 10:54. Time remaining, 3rd quarter here at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals in front of the Chiefs by a score of 9-0, and St. Louis has the ball at their own 20-yard line. And thus far, the Cardinals can do no wrong. The Chiefs can do no right. St. Louis has dominated the ball game. Roy Green in motion. Lomax hands off to Stump Mitchell. And the Stumper has a couple to the 22. And it'll be 2nd down and 8. Tim Cofield was there with a tackle. Now let's check the scores. Washington, what a roll. 34-0 over Dallas. Rams by 4 over New Orleans. 6th quarter. No, that's right. No, what that game.
They've been playing forever.
They really have. The computer's having fun with us. All right, guys. Come on, computer. They mark Stump's last gain for 3, and so it is 2nd and 7. And with a chance here to pick up the first down, and he does, and he breaks it down the sideline. All the way to the Kansas City 49-yard line. 29 yards on the play for Stump Mitchell. Art Still finally got him, or was it Leonard Griffin? It was Still.
And Mitchell coming up limping a little bit on the play. His great ability is to cut very sharply while keeping his feet. There you see the move to the inside, and taking the defensive back Greg Hill down with him as he goes because of his ability to make that sharp cut on the run.
What does he do with his jersey so you can never see the bottom of his numbers? Does he have it tucked in so you can't get a grip? Notice how that is?
I've never noticed before. It seems like he's so barrel-chested. It's really tight around the midriff area. A lot of running backs will do that so that no one can grab a hold of them as they're trying to slip out from the backfield.
First down at the Kansas City 49-yard line. Lomax. This is a quick screen to Green. And a good defensive play by Albert Lewis. Green put a couple of moves on him. He did move. By the way, injury report on Kevin Ross. He got his finger poked in his eye. He's okay, but the eye's swollen shut. So he can't play. And so Greg Hill is playing at that right corner spot. But it's not anything of any kind of permanent injury. Loss of a yard. 2nd down and 11.
Albert Lewis with a nice play. Anytime you can stop Roy Green man on man, you've done quite a job. The job of a defensive back is to stare straight into the numbers of a receiver in that situation, because you can move your head, you can move your hips, but you can't move that number anymore. That's right. It stays wherever you go.
Will Farrell. And the Cardinals beginning to mount a rushing game almost to the 40-yard line. So it's going to be 3rd down and about a yard. Whitney Paul led the defense there.
Farrell seems to slow up a little bit. He's got a lot of people right and pulling in front of him. A couple of blockers, Louis Sharp, number 67, getting to him. And then you see he kind of didn't put his head down and try to run anybody over to get that extra yard. Farrell seemed to be a little bit shy of the contact on that play.
Well, but he has been, he's been struggling on an ankle.
That's right.
Injury, so that may...
Exactly. That's the problem. When you get banged up, you get this late in the season. Earl Farrell is usually a very strong, tough running back, but the injuries will create that. He saw the big hole and he hit it quickly enough. He just didn't lower the shoulder like he normally would had he been completely healthy.
3rd down and a yard. Good play action fake. And all alone is Farrell. There was nobody there. He goes to the 25-yard line. Gain of 15. It was 3rd and 1.
And they go with the fake to Sikahema in the backfield. Farrell has got 40 catches on the year coming into today, 2nd on the team. So not only is a fair runner and a good blocker for Stump Mitchell, but he has the ability to come out of the backfield and make a catch as well.
And also they're going at the side of Greg Hill, who's replacing Kevin Ross. 25-yard line of Kansas City. 1st down for St. Louis. Lomax goes deep in the corner to Green, and he can't get there. Albert Lewis had the coverage on. Is that just a long timing pattern? He sure released it early.
Well, that's a mistake on the part of Roy Green. It is a timing pattern, but regardless of how fast you are as a wide receiver, you can't turn it into a simple foot race, and that's what he does. He just tries to run down the field. Now, Ross has the line to the end zone to help him out. He knows he's not going to run 60 yards for a touchdown, and so the foot race turns into just a dead heat. And Ross is there and makes it a tough throw for Lomax because he didn't have a definitive target to get the ball to. What a receiver should do in those situations is to stutter a little bit, try to get the defense back to stop, and then blow by him. That way, it's not just a foot race, it's skill, and you create a cushion between the receiver and the defensive back.
2nd down and 10. The ball at the 25-yard line. Over the middle, it is caught. It'll be a touchdown. J.T. Smith. And he beat Greg Hill. "25 yards on the touchdown pass, an 80-yard drive in 7 plays for the Cardinals."
Now, J.T. Smith coming up limping on the play, but that was just a great maneuver by Neil Lomax. He read the blitz. Another breakoff pattern. Actually, J.T. Smith is what on that play is called a hot receiver. He sees the blitz coming. He's got to break his pattern to the inside. You see him watching. There's a blitz from the linebacker. I've got to break my pattern. He does. He makes the catch. He's on the same page as Lomax. They both read the blitz, and he beats Greg Hill, as you mentioned, Charlie. They're working that side because of the injury to Kevin Ross. He gets a nice block downfield by Green, and we've got to score. And we also have a receiver injured on the spike. That's how he got hurt.
Oh, no.
He spiked the ball and hurt himself. Unbelievable.
And what is one of the great injuries to a teammate of yours on the spike?
Duriel Harris, Monday Night Football, national television. But you know what? I got to tell you, I loved it because I got to play. He was all right. I mean, he only missed a couple of series, and I didn't catch any balls. But, you know, I mean...
But you remember it, don't you? All right, now, Eric Schubert to try the point after. And it is there. It is good. And the Cardinals lead Kansas City by a score of 16-0. We're going to a commercial, but we got to take another look at this. Look. Oh, he came down on that ankle. That's what it was. Bad move.
Here's the purchase agreement for your Tandy computers. The training sounds great. Can we get it done in time?
Absolutely. The schedule we've designed for your people includes courses for each department with hands-on training and specialized software instruction.
And we'll be with you every step of the way. That's the kind of support and training we need.
Tandy Computers at Radio Shack Computer Centers. In business, for business.
Sure, the pride is back. Plymouth Sundance and Plymouth Voyager are the proof. Plymouth Sundance, the unbelievable American, under $7,800. Sundance, the best value of any car in its class. Versatile Plymouth Voyager, front-wheel drive, car-like handling, spacious Plymouth Voyager. Plymouth's 550 protection plan backs them both.
The pride is back, born in America again.
Welcome to the Silver Bullet, home of a cold Coors Light.
Jimbo, yo, where's Nadine tonight? They're probably sitting by the phone waiting for yours truly. Give me a Coors Light, will you, sweet thing? You guys have a little love spat? Nah, man's got to have some space. Gotta show these women who's boss. Gotta zig when they zag. Hey, I know it's brutal, but a man's got it too. But Nadine.
Yo. Oh, she looks miserable.
Yeah.
No slowing down with the Silver Bullet tonight.
This fall, NBC Sports has a November to remember when heart-pounding excitement returns to the greens, where one putt could be worth $450,000. Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino, and Fuzzy Zeller play the Skins game. It's a November to remember on NBC.
6 minutes and 46 seconds. That is the time remaining in the third quarter. And the surprising St. Louis Cardinals lead the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 16-0. And Eric Schubert will be kicking off. Jeff Smith takes it. The kickoff being short by Schubert. He returns it out to the 32-yard line. Now let's go back to J.T. Smith at his score.
And the wide receiver laments. Now, I'm sure he's going to go to the sideline and say, well, Coach, this is actually where I hurt the leg. You see, I beat the guy, and Hill grabbed a hold of my leg, and right at the end, I twisted a little bit because it was bothering me before. But, you know, I gutted it out, and I looked like I ran into the end zone as if nothing in the world was bothering me, and I was so excited I spiked the ball, and then I remembered through my excitement that, yeah, my ankle was hurt, and then I limped. But it really didn't happen when I spiked the football, Coach. Honest, and please don't find me.
Would he get away with it?
Well, I heard that story from Daryl Harris, so I thought it probably worked for JT if he wants to use it.
I thought maybe it was one of your old stories. Kansas City comes out with Herman Hurd, and Hurd goes to the 39-yard line. They mark the line of scrimmage as the 31. With a gain of 8, 2nd and 2, Lonnie Young, the free safety for the Cardinals, makes the tackle. Now, Kansas City is down 16-0. Because a lot of times, 6 minutes plus third quarter, they're not throwing. I thought they'd come out throwing.
Well, I thought they'd start throwing the ball on first down.
Yeah.
Coming out the second half, they've been successful on 2 running plays on first down to put them in good field position. But I think to get back in this game, they're going to have to throw on first down and not just in the obvious passing situations.
They need 2 touchdowns in the field goal to try and pull it out. You know, they were the favorite coming in. A flag is down on the play as Pruitt picks up the first down. Now, speaking of penalties, to this point, prior to this flag, Kansas City 4 penalties for 63 yards. St. Louis 0. They were offsides. That'll be their first penalty, but they're going to refuse it. I think they'll refuse it. The yardage is going to be about the same. They'll take the play.
Offside, number 52 on the defense. Penalty is declined. First down.
Here's good news. The computer is back. All right. Washington still, there wasn't anything wrong with that, 34-0. And the Rams still in front of New Orleans.
Kansas City first and 10.
San Francisco still leads. Oh, look what Seattle has done. And Seattle have been struggling recently. Their record is 5-6 in the AFC West. And basically, I don't know. You know, if they surprise everybody and win all the last ones, you know, they might slip back in. But well, that's a long haul for them. Pass far side on the first down to Henry Marshall is complete at the 45-yard line of St. Louis, and looks as if it will be a first down, but let's see. They were going after Carl Carter, the defender, and it is going to be a first down.
And they finally do break out of the pattern of running on first down and throw the football. In that situation, the timing play we've talked about all day long. 5 steps by the quarterback, 12 yards by the receiver. Throw it out there, and Marshall picks up the first down. Marshall, who is starting in place of Carlos Carson, as we mentioned earlier, injured and out of today's action.
Kenney has pressured. He gets this one off to Hurd to the 36-yard line. And a gain of 9 on the play. It's going to be 2nd down and 1. Ikonoga making the tackle. Ron Monaco also there. Yeah, do you notice Hurd, as you know, he hadn't played that much since those 2 fumbles that we talked about earlier. He's running with fire in his eye. He is really moving.
Well, that's the great motivator is sitting on the bench, because the next move, J.T. Smith had the same problem here, not a fumble problem, but he was placed on the bench by John Makovic, and a year later he was gone, and Herman Hurd remembers that, I'm sure.
Mike Pruitt is dropped for a loss at the 37. He'll lose a yard, so it's going to be 3rd down and a couple. Al Baker just kind of bumped him with his shoulder and caught him just at the right off-balance moment and dropped him at the 37-yard line. 4.5 minutes to go in the 3rd, and the Cardinals shutting out the Chiefs by a score of 16-0.
Kansas City has to get something out of this drive. 3rd and a couple of yards. It's important for them to at least get Lowry an opportunity to kick a field goal. That means no sacks, no loss of yardage on the part of Kenney.
It's Pruitt going for the first down, and it's going to be close. We spot the ball just inside the 35. Kansas City's deepest penetration today, and that should stand up for the first down. Galloway and Young were there for St. Louis. It'll be the 34-yard line. Cardinal defense has played well. They are ranked 9th in the NFL, 23rd against the rush, but 3rd against the pass.
1st and 10.
And more important, they believe today. Kenney, the pass is complete quickly to the outside, goes to Page, and Stefan is stopped by Leonard Smith, and they'll mark it at the 27-yard line. 2nd down and 3. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Kenney just got the ball over the rush of the front 4 or 5 because there is a blitz on. It seemed that he just got the ball over Charlie Baker, who was blitzing on the play, got his arms up, but Kenney found an open hole and got it to Stefan Page. for some yardage.
He made a nice move around Baker.
He did make a nice move around Baker.
2nd and 3. Kenney to throw. And he goes deep, and there's a miscommunication. What happens there? Page, the intended receiver, was an inside route. He was throwing an outside route.
Well, it was Cedric Mack. I think Kenney was just throwing it away. Cedric Mack had great coverage against Stephon Page. And bump and run coverage, the wide receiver wants to go inside, and the defensive back is sitting inside. So how do you get him to move? Well, you fake him out. You tell him, well, I'm going to go out here for a while, so come on and follow me. I'm going to run out here. You start to the outside, and if he doesn't buy it, you're dead. It's over. The play's over. Quarterback season says you blew it. He didn't buy your fake. I'm going to throw the ball away. And that's what happened with Kenney and Stephon Page on that play.
Now you're 3rd down and 3, and you've got to throw here.
Not necessarily, but I would look for Kansas City to throw the ball. Again, the important part, they need some points out of this. Don't keep Lowry out of field goal position.
Herman Hurd. Cedric Mack again for St. Louis. Loss of 3, 4th down and 6.
Cedric Mack is playing quite a football game. Watch him down the bottom. He gets the good penetration coming from the inside out. Reads it really well, and whoa, no chance for Herman Hurd to make any move there. That was Young.
Lonnie Young.
That was Lonnie Young. That wasn't Cedric Mack. But just a nose tackle. He took his knees out from under him, and Hurd had no opportunity to put a fake out.
47-yard field goal attempt by Lowry. This is well within his range. Kenney to hold. Lingner with the snap. He has hit 47 yards this year. Career, he's hit from 58. Did he get it? No, he didn't. He's going to come up short from 47 yards away. So another opportunity slips away from Kansas City. St. Louis leads 16-0. 3rd quarter. We'll be back.
When you're behind the wheel in LeBaron GTS, it's nice to know GTS excelled in handling in a U.S. Auto Club test, did 0 to 50 in 5.63 seconds, triumphed in braking, and gave BMW and Mercedes something they never expected, a driving lesson. GTS comes sensibly priced with Chrysler's protection plan. You don't drive LeBaron GTS the way USAC did, but it's nice to know you could. Chrysler, driving to be the best.
Panasonic, the future of office automation. Advanced equipment.